What's going on, guys? We're back here again today. Welcome back to the channel, Savage Panda Projects, the habitat for horsepower. So on today's video, we're going to be going over 5 essential things you need to do before you tune your MQB car. So anybody out there with an A3, S3, GTI Golf R, maybe an all-track or sport wagon. So we're going to go ahead and take the time to cover everything you need to take care of before you go ahead and tune your car. Now, if you guys haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with more projects, more content on the A3 build, as well as all related automotive discussion videos. I want to give a huge thanks to my buddy Kyle for reaching out and suggesting this idea for a video, as he just recently went stage 1 on his 2015 Audi A3 Quattro. He's been sorting out a few different mechanical issues. I want to go ahead and take the time to break everything down for you guys and to do a pre-tune checklist. So the first things first you need to understand is these cars from factory will advertise service intervals for oil changes at every 10,000 miles. In my personal experience, I find this to be far too long to go without changing your oil on these particular vehicles, so I would go ahead and scale that back to every 5,000. If you haven't already, go ahead and grab yourself a high quality synthetic oil, such as a liquid moly or a Motul. Always want to make sure you've got a good quality oil. It's going to give you proper lubrication, protect the health and longevity of those engine internals. Very important thing to keep in mind, especially as you start pushing more power with more aggressive tunes. I'll leave a link down below to the liquid moly service kit I particularly run on my S3, and it's treated me very well. I haven't had any problems. Moving on to our next point. One of the biggest things I see is a lot of guys, they might have 50, 60, 70,000 miles on these cars. Totally fine, not a big deal. You need to stay on top of your maintenance as far as ignition. So spark plugs, this is a huge thing. If you've got a lot of miles on your car, if you've never changed your spark plugs, you go from stock to stage 1 or stage 2, you are most likely going to accelerate the wear and tear on your ignition. So I would go ahead and strongly recommend picking up a set of NGK Audi RS7 spark plugs. Very reasonable cost. Very sensible upgrade at around 60, 65 bucks. These plugs are going to be one heat range colder than your factory plugs. This is an excellent way to maximize the health, the performance, the longevity of your engine. That way you're not going to have pre-ignition detonation problems. Some guys will even take that a step above and beyond with a set of racing plugs, which are actually 2 heat ranges colder. We actually just installed a set the other day over at G&P Performance on one of our customers' cars, a 2020 Nardo Gray RS3. APR Stage 1 Plus. On this particular instance, we decided to go with the APR recommended plugs, which are the NGK racing plugs. Definitely a very high price point for any guys out there that want to maximize your gains and get the most out of it. Not something you absolutely have to do, especially for a lot of guys with the TTRS and the RS3s. You may decide to go with the racing plugs if you can shell out the coin. Definitely something to take a look at. I'd highly recommend it. The next thing you might want to consider is if you haven't already checked your ignition coils, you may want to go ahead and pick up a set. Now you could go with an OEM replacement, that's totally fine. If you do feel like you'd like to go with an aftermarket upgrade, you could always go with the APR ignition coils. Pretty good price point on there. They've got some information if you want to read more about it as far as they're designed to get more energy output for overall better performance. Certainly a great option if you want to go ahead and get yourself in the right position to have your ignition totally taken care of, ready to go without any problems. Especially if you guys are getting ready to tune your car and you want to go ahead and prepare yourself to handle more power. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is going to be a Haldex service. I have seen some of you guys send some messages and post some comments recently about some concerns with the Haldex system on these vehicles. And I do think that if you've made it past around 30,000 miles, that's going to be an indicator that you need to go ahead and do a Haldex service if you haven't already. Not terribly expensive service. You can go ahead and pick up a maintenance kit for a pretty reasonable price. You also want to make sure to take a close look at that filter. If there's any particles or contaminants within that screen, it's always good to clean that out just to make sure you're keeping an eye as far as any materials that are starting to wear and tear on your Haldex system. But generally speaking, I think if you treat your Haldex appropriately, you're not really going to have a lot of problems. I will say that I have seen some of you guys comment about failures on early 2015 models. Not the end of the world necessarily. You can typically get a new Haldex pump and seals for a pretty reasonable price. You guys always have to keep in mind the general outlook with these cars. A lot of people always kind of point the finger at many of these German automobiles, and they kind of have that negative perception about maintenance and reliability. And I'm always a firm believer that if you are good to your car, generally speaking, in return, your car will be good to you and you're not really going to have a bunch of problems. But do not neglect your Haldex. Do not complain on the internet if you find yourself in a bad situation and you have failed to do a Haldex service on your vehicle. The next thing I want to talk about is a DSG service. This is a big one, guys. You guys have to understand wear and tear, temperatures, heat. break down the properties of these oils and lubricants, and you want to make sure that you are protecting the internals of your DSG. So if you guys haven't already, take care of a DSG service before you get into doing stage 1, stage 2 with the DSG tune. You've got more aggressive shift points, you got more clutch clamping pressure. You want to make sure that you take care of that service so you're not going to have problems down the road. As you guys know, these transmissions are very expensive units. If for some obscure reason you beat the heck out of one of these cars and you're not taking care of your maintenance, you run into a serious issue, I can assure you that is going to be a very costly repair that you're not going to want to deal with. So don't neglect your DSG service. Definitely grab a kit, not terribly expensive. There are a vast assortment of different brands, fluid and service kits that you can buy. So you can go ahead and pick and choose whatever works best for you based on your budget and what you want to do. So I want to give a huge thanks to my buddy Kyle who reached out to request this particular video. Basic beginner's guide of everything that you need to take care of before you go ahead and tune your car. I would always make sure to knock all of these things out just so you can have peace of mind and thoroughly enjoy your increased horsepower and torque figures with your aftermarket tune. So guys, thank you so much as always for checking out today's video. Very straightforward checklist as far as everything that needs to be taken care of before you tune one of these cars. If you guys should need any aftermarket performance parts or upgrades, make sure to check out GMP Performance. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description box down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the video with a thumbs up, subscribe for more. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.